All right, so you've probably seen the headlines. Donald Trump wants to buy Greenland. Again. And yeah, it sounds kind of out there, right? But this is way more than just some real estate fantasy. We're talking about a move that could genuinely spark a new Cold War in the Arctic. So let's break down what's really going on here. You know, it all kicked off again with this quote: "I need Greenland very badly." I mean, you can't get much more direct than that, right? This statement from the former and maybe future U.S. president is what just threw gasoline on this whole firestorm. It's dramatically raising the stakes in the Arctic, for sure.
So, what is the deal with this fixation on the world's largest island? What's really behind it? And maybe more importantly, why has the story, the public reasoning for wanting it, changed so much over the last few years?
Well, the public justification has really evolved. If you look back to 2019, it was pitched as, essentially a large real estate deal. Simple enough. Then, last January, the story changed. It became about economic security. And today? Now the argument is all about a critical issue of U.S. national security. That's a pretty big shift.
Okay, to really get what's at stake, we've got to look past the headlines and the politics for a second, and just look at a map. Because Greenland's location, well, it's a bit like the most important square on a global chessboard. It's all about location, location, location.
And here's the thing. As the climate changes and the Arctic ice literally melts away, the strategic value of this island is just skyrocketing. You're seeing this once remote, icy territory suddenly become this huge focal point of competition between global superpowers.
So why is it so strategic? Well, there are a bunch of reasons. First off, just look where it is. It sits right smack in the middle between the US and Russia. Plus, it's already home to a super important US missile defense system. And for the US, controlling it would be a huge advantage in countering China's growing influence in the Arctic.
But hey, this isn't just about military strategy. Not at all. As that ice melts, it's uncovering some massive economic prizes. We're talking about riches that are becoming more and more accessible every single year.
Yeah, that melting ice is basically revealing a hidden treasure trove. I mean, sure, there's oil and gas, but think bigger. We're talking about minerals that are absolutely essential for green tech, things like copper, lithium, cobalt, the building blocks of our future. For the US, getting access to this could be a major way to challenge China's near-total dominance over many of these rare earth minerals.
And it's not just about what's under the ice. It's about what's opening up on the sea. These new Arctic shipping routes, they're an absolute game changer. Think about it. They can slash the travel time from Europe to Asia by almost half compared to going through the Suez Canal. That's a huge economic prize. Is it any wonder that countries like China and Russia are already working together to get a lock on them?
Okay, so the US is clearly very interested. But what about the people who actually live there? How are Greenland and its sovereign power, Denmark, reacting to all of this?
Well, let's just say the response from Greenland has been loud and clear. Their prime minister did not mince words, urging Trump to give up his, and I quote, fantasies about annexation. Pretty direct.
And this isn't just one politician speaking off the cuff. No way. In a really powerful show of unity, Greenland's new government put it in writing. On the very first page of their coalition agreement, it says, "Greenland belongs to us." Crystal clear.
To really get why their stance is so firm, you kind of have to understand their history. I mean, this is a long journey towards self-governance we're talking about. It was a Danish colony for centuries, then officially became part of the Danish kingdom in 1953. They got home rule back in '79, and since 2009, there's been an agreement in place that actually lays out a path to full independence.
And here's the crucial part of that arrangement. While Greenland runs its own show, with its own parliament, that's the home rule part, its foreign and security policy, that's still handled by Denmark. And what does that mean? It means any potential deal has to go through Copenhagen.
And that, of course, brings us to Denmark's reaction. And this is where the whole thing goes from being a weird diplomatic issue to something that could threaten the entire Western military alliance. The stakes get a lot higher here.
Yeah, Denmark's Prime Minister, Mette Frederiksen, absolutely did not hold back. She basically drew a massive red line. She said that if the US were to make any kind of aggressive move, it wouldn't just be an attack on Denmark, it would be an existential threat to NATO itself. That is a huge statement to make.
So let's pull all this together, right? You've got the military strategy, the economic potential, the really fierce local opposition, and now the threat to international alliances. The big takeaway here is that this is about so much more than just buying an island.
I mean, we've talked about the military value, right? The incredible economic prizes hiding under the ice. And of course, that powerful pushback from a people who are absolutely determined to control their own future.
What we're watching is a clash of global interests, and it's all happening in a part of the world that is changing faster than anywhere else on the planet.
And that really leaves us with one big question to think about. Is Trump's focus on Greenland just a one-off thing, some isolated ambition? Or are we actually watching the opening chapter of a much bigger and potentially much more confrontational global story about who gets to control the future of the Arctic?